Thursday and Friday, which will be open line, of course, open line on Friday. But we have a special interest in Grand Bahama because Grand Bahama is very important to the development of the country, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They're having their share of problems. We have people with different views, different ideas, different opinions. I understand there was supposed to be some activity in Grand Bahama. We spoke about it yesterday. I said I wanted to see 20,000 people turn out for this event, 20,000 or more, because Bahamians, you have to apply Article 24.1 of your Constitution. Do not take either gathering together, whatever name they want to use, or a demonstration, or peaceful assembly, whatever. Bahamians always assemble peacefully. They're not violent people. I know them very well because I'm one of them. Now, they may have their differences, their opinions. Of course, everybody have their views and their ideas. I learned to tolerate the views of people. But if the people come together to say, listen, we want to have a meeting in relation to electricity for the people of Grand Bahama. And that ad we read yesterday from one of the groups that are organizing down there said all Grand Bahamians. Well, that means all, 100%. Everybody is affected by the rates in Grand Bahama, or the proposed rates in Grand Bahama, 6.3% increase. And I understand the Grand Bahama Power Company has applied to both ERCA and also the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Well, you can't blame the man for that because, both are saying that they are in charge of setting the rates. We're going to know for sure whether that is true or not. Because I said to people, you need to know your Constitution, and unfortunately, quite a lot of people don't understand constitutional law, even some of those who are supposed to be highly educated. It's amazing what highly educated people miss, The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It's across the board, Bahamians. And of course, the Grand Bahama Port Authority is looking at the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. And they're counting on that. Well, that's their view, and I'm not going to say anything against that. But we're examining the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. But we know this. Every law in this country that is inconsistent with the Constitution, it is null and void. Straight across the board. Or any portion of any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution shall prevail. That's straightforward, Article 2 of your Constitution. So if you want to hear from the people of Grand Bahama what would have happened today, whether they are continuing any further activities down there or up there, as the case may be, they're in the north, they're in the central Bahamas. The thing is, Bahamians, that you have to pull together. I'd like to see the people of Grand Bahama be unified in their approach in terms of dealing with problems in Grand Bahama, because Bahamians, you have some very serious issues to deal with. And people will have their views, they will have their ideas, they'll have their opinions, and you're going to find plenty of them are dead wrong. Are they willing to admit when they're wrong? The hardest thing for a human being to do is to admit error and change. I learned that many years ago, because I have to struggle with that every day of my life, Bahamians. Carnal nature doesn't want you to admit when you're wrong. The man said he didn't do anything wrong. You mean to tell me you're going to believe that fella who said he didn't do anything wrong, and there is hardcore evidence to prove to the contrary? That is why you need to look and see what is going on in your country. Bahamians, if you stick with your Constitution, you will always be right. You want to always be right, Bahamians? Stick with your Constitution. You will never be wrong, because the Constitution, it's impossible for the Constitution to be wrong. Why? Because it's the supreme law. The supreme law is always right. And then you add the Holy Bible to it. The Holy Bible is the Word of God. It is always right. So anytime when I look at anything, I start with the Holy Bible, which is the Word of God. The Constitution came out of the Holy Bible. The founding fathers believed in God. The people at that time didn't want to have a nation without God. That is still the same way today. Now we have drifted away from the principles outlined in the Constitution, where we are to be a people making some national commitment to the rule of law, national commitment to Christian values and the rule of law, national commitment to biblical principles, Bahamians. If we leave God out of the picture, we're going to lose. We are now looking at some other things. Today we are trying to, I heard them talking about campaign finance reform on another radio station today. And what happened is they are talking about what other people are doing. See, this is the mistake we keep making all the time. Looking around to see what these other nations have done in their particular country. Those things don't fit the Bahamas. We need to come up with some creative ways to help solve Bahamian problems. You don't solve Bahamian problems with Japanese solutions or French solutions or American solutions or Haitian solutions. We are very unique people, Bahamians. We need to look deep within our country because we have some unique features that we have never yet explored for the development of our people. We have a whole army of natural resources we have not explored and utilized for the benefit of the hundreds of thousands of Bahamians that are in our country. I ain't talking about them people who talk about these Bahamian. I ain't talking about that crew. They got to go home. We need a national government that would send all of them home. You don't have them hanging around here for what? To be a nuisance? I heard one other fellow say if he gets elected, he can have a mass exclusion. I think that's the word I should use. Expulsion. That's the word. Expulsion of foreigners in that particular country. We have to do the same thing here. You have to send these people home where they belong. That's why God put everybody in a nation. Tell them Haitians, you stay in Haiti. And then people in Cuba, you stay in Cuba. That's where you belong. And those are the people in them other countries where they're running to and fro. You see this war between the Israelis and the Hamas group? People running, leaving their things behind because they can't carry the house. They can't carry the bed. Only the clothes on their back and what they could carry in their hand. Even the Israeli citizens are threatened. And unfortunately, some have been killed. Bahamians, when wars break out, when people die, you can't bring them back. No amount of negotiations around the table will bring those people back to life. They're dead. God has to raise them from the dead, and He will. At a future time. But we're living today. So why can't we be peaceful and loving and kind and helpful to each other? What are we killing one another for? We have people killing people here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And a lot of us don't realize how blessed we are as a nation. You know, people want to come here to live. Some very wealthy people, you know. But they got to pay to live here. We can't let them come in here for free and make more money than Bahamians. That doesn't make any sense. Only Bahamians are supposed to be the top dogs in their own country. No foreigner is supposed to make more money in your country than them Bahamians. How we let this happen? And he ain't paying nothing. All this wonderful atmosphere that God has given us, he enjoying it, making more money than Bahamians, and then shipping the money out of the country. We have to fix that. We need a national government that will fix it. 50% should belong to the Bahamian people. If they don't want that, take it or leave it. Let them go back to their country. Let the fellow go back to Nicaragua. He can't stay in his castle. They'll burn the castle down and burn him down in it too. That's how they operate in those countries. So the people are looking for a place to stay where they could live peacefully. But you got to pay for that. You can't get that for free. You couldn't get it free in your own country. You want to come here and benefit while Bahamians become second-class citizens. Bahamians, you got to watch these things now. Where strangers, foreigners, aliens, and outsiders getting better benefits than Bahamians. I understand that's happening in Grand Bahama, where some foreigners have promised some things which they didn't fulfill, and Bahamians are getting the low-paying jobs. The man keep talking about jobs for Bahamians. I mean, we clean the toilets, we mop the floor, we wash the dishes, we sweep the room, we wash the windows. There's nothing necessarily wrong with those things. But the high-paying jobs, they give it to them strangers, foreigners, aliens, outsiders. That's what has been reported to me. No stranger, no foreigner, no alien, no outsider should be bigger than a Bahamian in the Bahamas. How we get this foolishness like this? How is it that we have in this country foreigners, strangers, aliens, outsiders living better than Bahamians? How we get mixed up like that? Isn't the Bahamas for Bahamians? Yes, it is. God gave us this place. He didn't say give it to them funny people. We have to take care of our own country. We have to take care of our own people. Those very same people only want to come here to make money. You think they love the Bahamian people? They don't. They never did. As long as they're able to make money and they could live peacefully here, they could care what happens to us. And then someone take over. You know that. God gave them their territory. Let's send them all back from whence they came. Then we got to worry about them no more. Of course, those who don't want to go, God have a remedy for them. He'll fix them. You don't want to go? God knows just what to do with you if you refuse to go. Because you're going to have to go one way or the other. And you can go voluntarily or you can go forcibly. You pick your choice. But we need a national government that could solve the problems of Bahamian people. Do you know that, Bahamians? We need these national problems to be solved by a national government that cares about the Bahamian people. We don't have that yet. I think we have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good day, Mr. Thompson.
Hey, how are you?
All is well. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling better today, although yesterday I saw that there was some stress here. We were talking about the people of Grand Bahama. We're going to talk about them the rest of this week because
Yeah,
Grand Bahama is in very serious difficulties.
I know. And so it's unfortunate, but I think we'll be able to. Maybe if they open to listen, and we think we could work together and try to create a resolution.
Well,
Um,
there is the solution to the problem is in the Constitution
I agree. I
and in the
agree.
Holy Bible.
Amen. I came to the station the other day to visit you. I think that was on the day that you had an accident.
That may be so, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
1 week before my birthday, I did
Yeah.
have an
Yeah.
accident, yeah.
I don't know if the gentleman tells you, but I wanted to read something quickly, if it's possible, from out of the Parliamentary Election Act.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Okay, I think it was. I'm still figuring out how these things work with the numbers. But I think this is the Article 97. If they was to go to the Parliamentary Election Act and go to offenses, and then go down to number 97.
Now, wait,
Uh,
hold on now, hold on. I don't want you to lose me. You said Article 97 of what? The
of the
Parliamentary Act?
Parliamentary Election Act. Yeah,
Okay, Parliamentary Election Act. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I can just read something, and this is something that they said is for persons who consider themselves voters, right?
Wait a minute
Um,
now. Who do what?
in the Parliamentary Election Act.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm gonna read just a sub. I'm just gonna read a piece of it, number 97. So if you
Now
was to go to the
yeah, I listened to that phrase you mentioned.
what?
Persons who consider themselves to be voters. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, that's what it's speaking. This is specifically speaking to voters in terms of ordinances, the do's and the don'ts, the right
Oh,
and the
okay. All
wrongs.
right.
Right.
Okay.
There's a section in the Parliamentary Election Act that
Yes.
focuses on offenses from categories from the party and independent perspective, from the voters' perspective, from how they interact between before elections, during elections, and stuff like that. So I just gonna read this real quick. It's just a small paragraph, but it
Okay.
should open up our questions.
Okay.
Every person who shall corruptly by himself or by or with any person or by any other way or means on his behalf at any time, either from the date of the issue of the writ of election under Part 5, during or after any election, directly or indirectly, give or provide or cause to be given or provided, or shall be accessory to the giving or providing, or shall pay wholly or in part any expenses incurred for any meat, drink, entertainment, or provision to or for any person in order to be elected, or for being elected, or for the purpose of corruptly influencing such person or any other person to give or refrain from giving his vote at such election, or on account of such person having voted or refrained from voting at such election shall be guilty of an offense against this act.
Now stop right there. You know how
Mhm,
convoluted that is? I listened I listened to that very carefully.
mhm.
It's very convoluted the way how it's written. It has to
But
be
that's
explained because see the average person is not going to get it like that. See the way how they write these laws? They need to put it in simple, basic, fundamental
yeah,
language.
but I mean I understand what it's saying because then
No, 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 no. I'm not saying you don't now. Don't misunderstand me because you're reading this to the public. You're
okay,
talking to that
understood.
woman in Baintown who got them first five boys. She's cooking chicken right now for them.
You're right.
You see what I'm saying? And then the
Yeah.
man in Foxhill who trying to find son-in-laws for his six daughters. We got to make sure they understand
But
it too.
let me see if they can understand this last piece. This is another small piece.
Okay, go
What I
ahead.
think might be a little bit more clear.
Uh-huh.
This is the subset. This is subset 2 from Article 97 from the Parliamentary Election Act.
Okay.
Every person who has or claims to have a right to vote at an election, who corruptly accepts or takes any such meat, drink, entertainment, or provision shall also be guilty of an offense against this act.
Okay.
Every person who upon any public road or in any public place within 100 yards of any building in which a polling station is
Yes.
situate seeks to influence any elector to vote for any candidate or to ascertain for what candidate any elector intend to vote or has voted, shall
Yes.
directly or indirectly by himself or by any other person on his behalf make use of or threaten to make use of any force, violence, or so it just to kind of give us some understanding of when they talk about campaign finance reform,
Yes.
the use of fundings, where they get it from, what it's purposely used for. We know that all elections, they have electioneering going on where they have paraphernalia with party
Yes.
merchandise on during election at
Yes.
polling stations, which is an offense.
Yes.
They go and they meet with you. They promise to give you things, like a job, which is an offense. They throw these parties during election to kind of like sway, influence people's votes. That's
That is
an
true.
offense.
Yes, it's an
And
offense.
so if we was following the Parliamentary Election Act as a country in terms of our leaders first, who should have broken it down to us at the constituency level as members of parliament and followed the law, then all of this disadvantage that we have in terms of campaign finance reform, smaller
Uh-huh.
parties,
Yes.
individuals, independents, everybody needs financing. But then it only seems like the bigger parties get fundings from sources that they don't want to disclose, which is also, as you see me read, an offense.
Yes. Yes,
And so
you're correct on that.
so I wanted to put the playing field and kind of encourage voters to understand that everything that they've accepted from a politician for a vote, even if they get it or not, is illegal. And
Yes,
they're a part of, there's an accessory to a crime.
yes.
Okay. But we can't charge them of the crime because we would say that because they're ignorant and they did not know. That's why I use this time to educate them now from this show.
But the law
That
doesn't say because you're ignorant, they shouldn't be charged.
right.
Yeah.
It was not no. They didn't know then.
Yeah. But
But
no,
now
but
that
see, once the law, when did it come to effect? When did law come into
that
effect?
that 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 probably came in effect when the Constitution. Because if you read the Constitution, they talk about parliamentary positions. They reference the
No,
Parliamentary
well, that's
Election
true.
Act.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
that ain't around. That's like a founding document. We
Okay.
just never amended it, nor they never really put attention to it because it's law, but they can't change it. But if they bring attention to it, it educates the masses, and then it creates problems for them because they campaign by electioneering. They campaign by promising to give people things for a vote. They campaign by telling you not to vote by spreading these malicious campaigns on people. And so
Yes.
all this is illegal
Okay.
by the
Yes.
law.
By law, Parliamentary Elections Act.
I just read an excerpt from it,
Uh-huh.
and that's a legal binding document I didn't create. I Googled it online because I mean it's on the website,
Uh-huh.
the government's website. Persons
Okay.
can take the time out and actually research these things. Those who are learned. So the time our college kids spend running from the Bahamas, their parents need to encourage them to educate themselves to
Yes.
come back to be a change in the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas, yes.
That's what I did. And so
Okay.
I'm an example. See, I could have stayed in America because America
Mhm.
loves intelligent people. They offered me scholarships to get my master's. She put me up in this and that, but I said, no, I'm coming back home, which was, in hindsight, was struggle because the very same people that I thought would have loved me more based on the love I was getting from America, the people who tried to destroy what you came to
You
do, which
mean
was to create change.
they know Christian people then?
Oh, just because they supposed to because
Those who
they
you
in the
come to?
church. Yeah, they're in the church.
They're in the church too.
Yeah,
They
they're in
go
the
to
church.
church on Saturday and Sunday. You ain't talking
They
about
run
them.
the church.
Oh, okay. You got to
So,
enlighten me then.
but we can talk privately one day. But the point of the matter is, as a parliamentarian or politician,
Yeah.
not a parliamentarian, and as an independent, someone who's prescribed to your doctrine in terms of the focus of why we are elected,
Yes. Okay.
I want to encourage you to say, hey, now is a good time during the 18 months for us to educate the people on these very same articles and acts
Right.
so we could allow them to make better decisions come next election.
Okay. Fair enough. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, man, because what
But
I've learned from this is we supposed to have our own money. We supposed when we say we coming forward to be independent or to be parliamentarian in the country, we supposed to be and establish some form of income to assist ourselves in campaigning.
Okay.
Persons generally don't supposed to directly invest in a campaign to get exchange for something in the background and
Okay.
use the money to sway votes. No, the money was supposed to be, if you get campaign funds, it's for a cause, a national cause to change, like you talk about trying to change a national initiative, a problem identified, now you realize that there's costs associated to the change.
Yes.
And now you want to campaign to generate funds to go along with this. And maybe it could go through a parliamentarian who would have spearhead this thing to ensure that it is done correctly and is able to meet the needs of the specific group of people or the nation at large.
Okay. Fair enough. Yes.
And so I just felt that going forward to make it an even playing field for even independence that you speak about,
Yes.
persons who just want to come in and be dedicated to commitment to service to constituency should
Well,
now be encouraged that don't have to worry about the big money, the big party spending coming this election because we know that what they do, we watching them. The
yes.
parties they throw, like how the PLP about to throw a big party in November, how the
Okay.
PLP just throw the breakfast under their brand.
Uh-huh.
All of this electioneering.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes,
You see?
I tend to agree with you. But the thing is, it doesn't cost you anything to mark the right X, the right person.
It shouldn't be right. That's what I'm saying because it's a duty to I guess choose someone who you feel based on your research, because it's like you come into a boardroom, you get hired. I put my resume out to the constituency, who's the hirees or the owners, and they, as a group, make a decision with the X to say the best candidate for the job, not how much money the candidate has, not how much money the candidate could spend to buy a vote, and then when he get in, he don't do what he's supposed to do. But we're talking about candidates who bring in a plan to create a change. Like you talk about identifying problems and have solutions and strategies to ensure that that is achievable, measurable, specific.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. That's why I told them, give me my 18 months. And I'm dead serious
I
about
pray
that.
to God that they do.
Well, I'm going to challenge them because you see, the Constitution says I can do it. The law says I can do it. And Scripture says I can do it. It's just a matter of people giving me the opportunity to have some righteous people.
Right.
And I told them the stipulations. The stipulations are very clear. When the righteous in authority, the people rejoice. You see them rejoicing in Centerville? Do you see them rejoicing in Engliston?
No.
In Fox Hill? Fox Hill got
No.
all kind of murders of their man. Then the man want to take the people land from him.
Yeah, that's what's
They're
going on.
rejoicing
Now,
over that.
You see, but he moving so slick. You know, I have my eye on them, you know, especially Fred Mitchell. But again, when you have the balance of power and they have the treasury, plus they have the influence and the resources, and so you're talking about people who are looking at a future forward, and a decision they make can either hurt them or help them, no matter how selfish it may seem, and no matter if the nation suffers at the end of the day.
Well,
so that's where education has to come in.
That is why I said to the people in Grand Bahama, they're supposed to have been planning this event for today.
Mm-hmm.
And from the information I got up to yesterday, I was under the impression that it would be a demonstration or some meeting of some kind. And I told them plainly, 20,000 or more.
Yeah,
because see, the thing is, see, they got to understand Article 24.1.
Majority rule, yeah.
24.1 of your Constitution, because people are having demonstrations, and then you got just a couple of people coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very ineffective. Now the people got to decide: do we want to demonstrate or we want to do something else? See, that's why I am saying to them: choose one major constituency problem that is in your particular constituency that you're prepared to work on and get it done in 18 months.
But the energy
That's possible.
that. See, the energy, do you believe the energy is that, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah.
See, the message, yes, is being smothered. Here's the message. The problem is we need to raise enough power for the use.
Okay.
That's the goal. The problem is we only have one alternative source of energy that we use, which is fuel.
Okay.
Secondly, the alternatives are available. They aren't looking at it from the easiest or the lowest hanging fruit. They're looking at it from selfishly as how could they privately make money.
Oh.
So they're focusing on commercial grade solutions, commercial grade power programs to bring companies to come in with commercial scale, find land, and build these big grid programs that will cost less.
Yeah.
Right? If the people would understand that if I, who have a home in Grand Bahama, could advocate that the government, which in their manifesto, the blueprint for change, promised to provide financing for renewable systems at the residential level.
Yes.
So if the homeowners could say, you promised to me that you can help me get a system.
Yes.
Enough, if they count the amount of homes in Grand Bahama that could potentially be used as a program for grid tied, and they look at how much power could be produced per home times X amount of homes that they put on power. The cost to put these homes on power is less than it will cost to create a commercial grid system or program. Plus, the time it will take is less. It takes 3 days to install a 3K system per home.
Okay.
So you have multiple homes being installed. You could tell the people how much homes will be installed in X amount of time. These are the things that they spoke about in the blueprint of change in terms of accountability and measurable targets so people could actually follow success.
Yes.
See, we talking university level now. We ain't talking to the boy who just happened to come out of high school and then get a good job through the politics or the politician and then he acting smart. No, we talking about a man who had to prove himself that he have to be smart to succeed.
All right. Okay.
So coming home, I letting the politicians know, not the citizens because they're the victims.
Yeah, they
I
are.
letting the politicians know. And those who in hierarchy of government, the PSs, the directors, the deputies, the MPs, the cabinet ministers, and the PM, that hey, Han should say he looked at your plan for commercial grade programs. The time frame for it to even be implemented is too long. People are going to be losing homes and suffering, living in the dark.
Okay.
Plus, the cost to do it is more, and you still expect the people to come up with a cost or
Okay.
to cover these costs through loans.
But Hanson, I have to cut you because my producer's being very patient.
Well, no
He's playing
problem.
the music,
Well,
so I gotta
listen,
go.
my brother, I only can help.
Well, I
Not hurt.
appreciate it.
One question: the producers are allowing us one more answer
One question?
from Brother
Okay.
Anshul.
Go ahead.
Another caller called in and is asking, what would you recommend as whether it's a court action against those that offend the Parliamentary Elections Act? The politicians, what would you recommend? A fine, or what sort of action would
No,
you
but
recommend?
that offense is determined by court. There, if in the Parliamentary Election Act, there's something I call election court.
Mhm.
That has the same powers as the Supreme Court, but it specifically deals with parliamentarians and anything dealing with election.
So they would have recommendations for
Right,
any
depends on
type of
the
action.
offense that is being now in question, allegations. Because remember now, every offense is on the books, but based on fraud, based on misappropriation, based on the things that they're being called, based on what the act says. But there's
Okay.
fines
Understood.
and there's imprisonment. So it's not that much, but
Yeah.
it
Something
has,
is there. So,
yeah, it has how much they could do once they're found guilty. It has what's supposed to happen. Even now, they're supposed to just call an election court and appoint a Supreme Justice to
Understood.
head that court.
Okay.
Understood. We're
Thank
gonna go
you.
to a
Thank you,
break
Carl.
now.
We have
but
to go
thank
to a
you.
break now, but thank you very
Okay,
much
my
for your
brother. Talk to you all
contribution.
soon.
All right. Good
Okay,
day.
all right. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We have to go to a break very quickly. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
You are now part of the global fight to end extreme poverty. And this concert is all about giving back to the world.
GlobalRadioFM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And Bahamians, we have to express ourselves and do that which is right and proper. We have to work together as a people. We may have different views, different ideas, different opinions, but God's word says, come now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, present tense. Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. And we wanted to hear from the people in Grand Bahama that was happening in Grand Bahama. I spoke at length about Grand Bahama yesterday, and we want to understand what's happening there. And I hope that whatever they're doing there, they're pulling together, working together, and making some things happen, because there are just too many problems for us to be divided. I believe we have Mr. Johnson on the line. Mr. Johnson, welcome to Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Johnson, we can hear you.
How are you doing, sir? All is well?
I'm doing quite well. We appreciate you calling in.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Because we wanted to get update. We were talking about Grand Bahama at length yesterday, and so we wanted to see how you can add to the conversation. In fact, we can be talking about Grand Bahama straight through until Friday. And
Right.
so if there are others in Grand Bahama who want to call in, connect into the show, we want to invite them in, because we want to hear what the Grand Bahama people are saying. Because one lady called me and told me, said, Professor, everybody in Grand Bahama is benefiting except Grand Bahamians. And I was very much concerned about that. Brother Johnson,
Right.
we appreciate you calling. And please bring us up to date as to what you understand on the ground and with your group, what is happening in Grand Bahama.
So currently, well, today we were supposed to have a press conference outside of the GB's Powers headquarters, but because of the weather, we was able to do it, inside an area.
Yes.
To just to respond to the press release that they would have issued, the Grand Port Authority would have issued on the 18th of September.
Okay.
So this has been, we've been consistent in our attempt to challenge the status quo, to stand up where there's a need, to expose what is happening, and to really hold this company accountable for, what is happening wrong.
Yes.
To the consumers of the Grand Bahama Power Company.
Yes.
What I found to be distasteful is that that response, that press release, is saying, it was just justifying as to why they need this rate increase.
Oh, okay.
And then they're going to shy away from having a public consultation with the community, with the people of Grand Bahama, to reduce it, to do it as a feedback where you fill the summary form, survey form, which I think it is repulsive, it is wrong, it is disrespectful, and it is demeaning, because we have to be able to sit in a room to have amicable debates and trash out our differences, and so we can plan the best way forward for both sides of the divide.
That makes sense.
So for us to read that and see where there's also a point in that where they want to raise some $8 million to do some investment to their plan, to their grid, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
However, you've been collecting a storm recovery charge from 2019. So again, where has that money been? And what are you doing to enhance and to provide quality, effective, efficient service for the customers?
Okay.
And so, we that's a very important conversation to have.
Yes.
And I don't think the company has been upfront. I hope that they will be more prudent and more respectful, and more right into how they deal with the consumers of Grand Bahama.
Yes. And of course, this particular company, does it have jurisdiction over all of Grand Bahama or just Freeport alone?
Well, it's so interesting because I saw where the CEO or the president of the Grand Bahama Power Company said, listen, we made an application to IRCA as well. So the fact that he admitted that he made an application to IRCA, reference to the rate increase, it says to me that they clearly don't know or it's not factual that they have the authority to, or the Grammar Port Authority don't have the authority to grant such increase. And so,
Okay.
again, I understand that was a matter before the court. I don't know whether at this time. It's very interesting, though, because outside of Freeport proper, the Port Authority doesn't have control.
Okay.
But GB Power supplies the entire island.
Oh, okay.
And so that's a very, very interesting question as to how that becomes, whether it's being allowed here or it's not allowed outside of the Freeport boundary.
So let me just ask this question. The Grand Bahama Power Company, has it been getting increases before in the rates?
We've seen communication. Yes, we've seen a communication, I think sometime this year, when they would have asked for, I think it was either in March,
Yes.
when they would have asked for an increase. I believe they got it at the time. I don't want to say last year, but definitely this year.
Okay.
It could have been last year, but I'm sure in the last couple of months they've gotten that.
So they got the increase through the Grand Bahama Port Authority?
I understand that they will write to the Grammar Port Authority,
Uh-huh.
but I believe the amendment to the Regulatory Act has been amended in the Parliament this year.
Okay.
So I believe the IRCA has been the one to give that approval.
Oh, I understand. Okay. All right. Let me just ask you this. What is the feeling of the people on the ground in Grand Bahama at this particular time?
To be honest with you, I live in Nassau, right? But I'm a born Grand Bahamian, right? I'm
Okay.
I'm home often. My family's in West End. I born in
Oh.
West End. I'm seeing an opposition, but I'm not impressed with how very low key it is. And I don't
Okay.
think, as people in Grand Bahama, we are vocal enough.
Okay.
I am not. I think we still are allowing anything to happen. I don't know if it's a place people are just fed up and they just don't care.
Yes.
But that's not the attitude to have,
That is true.
because at the end of the day, all of us are going to suffer from this.
You certainly
And
will.
so there has to be a better fight on this from everybody in Grand Bahama, because we
Yes.
see where business owners talk about it. We see where homeowners talking about it. We see where elderly people are talking about what's happening to them. But
Yes.
again, there is not a ground swelling of a strong opposition, as it should be, to both the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Grand Bahama Power Company.
I think you need to repeat that last phrase, what you just mentioned, that statement you just mentioned. I am quite impressed that you made that, because that is what is needed in this country generally, that massive groundswell of support from the
Yes.
people on the ground.
Yes, sir.
We cannot
You need
afford
it. You need it. You need it. I mean,
Article-
you look at me, for example.
Yes, sir.
I'm a one. We have a very good team. Mr. Shad Adley and Chantel Robinson
Yes.
and Natasha Darville and Brenda Ferguson. And my thing is, we are making a lot of sacrifices
Yes, you are.
to stand up against this.
Yes.
Bahamians have to understand, and Penland have said it best, Father Nation, that if you're not prepared to fight for this country, then we don't deserve to have it.
Okay.
All right? And I believe that the government of the Bahamas by now should have came into should fly into Grand Bahama
Yes.
and to have a cabinet meeting and to summons the principals or owners of the GB Power
Yes.
to come to that meeting.
Yes.
And we would have to get to the bottom of what is happening and why you think you deserve this increase. But more importantly, why have you've not been providing a service that has a service that should be
Yes.
at the level that it used to be. I mean,
Okay.
Grand Bahama has always been leading on the edge when it comes to utilities in
Yes.
the Bahamas.
So I understand.
But they have since dropped from that. And again, there has to be more accountability. But I agree with you that the groundswell is not strong enough. It is not loud enough. It should be more vocal. It should be more aggressive. It should be more demonstrating. But it's not there yet. Why? I don't know.
Mr. Johnson, I am
Wow.
so delighted to hear that. I'm going to bring on Brother Hyler, because I'm sure he's got some questions he wants to ask you as well. Brother Hyler, come on in, please.
Yes, good day. Dwayne Hiley here, Brother Johnson.
How are you?
I'm doing well. We have been discussing Grand Bahama off and on for quite some time, with great concern over the numbers, the effect, the negative impact that the high cost of living has been having, the
Right.
amount of businesses closing, the amount of customers that are without electrical service to their property.
Yes, sir.
Persons who have left. We hearing numbers like the population of 60 to 70,000 is now as few as 40,000 and possibly declining. These are numbers
sir.
that have been put out, by the authorities,
Yes, sir.
and it is very telling that whatever is happening is simply not working for the people.
It's not. It is not.
It-
I believe, Hyla, that we have to look at. I think for far too long we've always been generating the focus on Freeport proper,
Mhm.
but it's time that we focus on West Grand Bahama and East Grand Bahama
Understood.
and outside of that Freeport barrier, because I believe there's great potential in these areas.
Yes.
We have a lot of Bahamians, Mr. Hyla, who are very wealthy, who are very successful,
Mm.
and who want to do something with their money.
Mhm.
We have to be able to have conversations and give Bahamians one opportunities to
Yes.
sit down and
Understood.
give the
Yes.
concessions and to give the agreements and the member of understanding that we do to these other investors. We
Yes.
have to start looking at developing West Grand Bahama, what it needs to be, what we want it to be. We look at the model, and particularly in East Grand Bahama. My thing is, we are too Freeport central in Grand Bahama.
Understood.
And I think the fight with the Grand Port Authority is a fight, but we have to look at ways to enhance the strength of Grand Bahama Island. I believe we
Yes.
can do it in West Grand Bahama and we can do it in East Grand Bahama. That needs to be a focus. There needs to be a plan generated with business owners, stakeholders, community leaders, local government, central government, and how we intend to bring West Grand Bahama and East Grand Bahama to be an economic pie, an engine for the Grand Bahama Island. Because I believe Freeport proper, it is there, but it's not the answer for the future of Grand Bahama.
Well, that is clearly put the way you put it across. It couldn't be more clear. Let me ask the same question another way. What has the attitude been towards local investors, local investment? When I say what has the attitude been, what is the attitude of the Port Authority been? What is the attitude of the Bahamian government been towards the local investor?
I said something the other day, Hyla. I look at the Al Capri Casino before it was sold. Well, I don't know if the casino was sold in the property. I'm not sure. But when I looked at that years ago, as it was in the doldrum, I said if we were able to sit in a room and have a discussion with all the number boys in this country, if you look at their business practice, these are very wealthy, shrewd, intelligent, powerful businessmen in this country, leading in this country, and they have invested a lot in their money in elsewhere, real estate, in social, in the media business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
If we had sat in the room and to give them that casino right now, and give the concession and reconfigure the deals and the terms, and give them what they need, how far they will take that casino alone. I'm just talking about people, Bahamians, what need opportunities, Mr. Hyla. And so, to your question is, I don't think Bahamians are still found on these big conglomerate companies. We're not found on that as we used to. I believe we are more found on what could help Bahamian, because we got to look at Bahamianization now.
Yes.
And we have to look at how does that affect us as Bahamians, and what benefit it is to us.
Definitely. One other question for now, because it is an ongoing situation. We are realizing now that there are different groups in Grand Bahama that are coming forward. And for example, the press conference that you all had today was very excellent. We were very interested to determine, what the outcome of that would be. Now, there's another press conference that is to take place next week by another group, And so the public is seeing this, not just New Providence.
Right.
We're looking at this, and we're curious. I'm curious also. Has there been any collaboration at any point or going forward? Do you see a collaboration where one or two?
I cannot tell you, but I can tell you, I have not been in talks with anybody
Okay.
outside of my current grouping, but I can tell you what happened the first time that we come to Grand Bahama for the protest, for the demonstration.
Mhm.
When I was planning it, honestly, I got a call from Shanta Robinson, who's from Enough Movement,
Okay.
and then I received a call saying that the PLP's men's branch were having a demonstration around our time,
Okay.
and it was wise for us to collaborate and not have people a bunch of
Yeah.
place.
Okay.
And we were able to do it. We were able to get on the phone call.
Okay.
We were able to organize it, and that's when all of us came under one umbrella.
Okay.
For that particular protest. I'm open to it because we cannot make this about one person.
Understood.
This is not about one individual. This is about the people of Grand Bahama, and this is about the issues that are facing the people of Grand Bahama and how we intend to fix this. And so I'm open to having those dialogue discussions. Far too long we have allowed ego, and we've allowed personality, and we've allowed entitlement, and we've allowed I come here first to to take over the agenda, and that's where we find ourselves, back to where we used to.
Yeah.
But no, I represent the fact that we need to have open door discussions. We need to have other people on board to make this a grander, bigger event.
Right. Because we all play a very significant part. And when we were doing our research over the last, it's over a month now,
Yes.
because we were focused on the PPL situation here
Yes,
in New
we were.
Providence.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we heard the stirrings, the rumblings in Grand Bahama. So we had turned our attention to that as well. And we are learning every week. Now, we have, just in the spirit of transparency, we have also Pastor Eddie Victor that we had asked to be a part of the show today. He's here waiting in the wings, and that's from the Coalition of Concerned Citizens.
Correct.
Now, our research tells us that from 2012, I said, my goodness, it's a good thing that the record is there to show that somebody, and like you said, it's not about egos, it's not about the personality, but it's the cause, when
yes. And I applaud the work that Eddie Victor and Daquan Sween and even Don Cooper, who are in the trenches, fighting, agitating, letting their voice. There are a lot of, and so we congratulate them on that.
Yes.
And, hopefully sooner than later, we could all come into a room and plan the way forward. Keep your agenda aside. Keep your politics aside.
Yes.
Let's work for the people of Grand Bahama.
Definitely. Let me say this too. Again, I'll keep repeating this word, transparency, because the powers that be use this word transparency, and then we don't see the transparency following, but between us that are looking out for the people, I myself, I have a political persuasion. It's not any of the two major parties, but where I sit to the table, privately with persons, is to advance what they're doing. Nobody can see that. Nobody can see the collaboration.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's the end result that we're looking for, because
I think, and I agree. I think Bahamians generally appreciate when we are able to come to the table and we are mature about our discussions.
Yes.
And we look for the main objectives, and we secure and we execute the objective to ensure that the Bahamians' position is represented. And whatever your issue is, personally, you leave it at the door. Bahamians appreciate that. And we have to also start doing that. Have this bipartisan approach for the greater good.
Well, boy, Brother Johnson, go
Johnson.
ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak, Professor.
Mr. Johnson, I really appreciate. I gotta have
We salute you.
I gotta have
Thank
you
you,
come
man.
back on
Appreciate
again at another time, because we're gonna have to go to break now. But we
Yes,
sir.
certainly appreciate what you said, because there were some things that I was thinking, and you hit the nail right on the head. It is for the interest of the people. And I'm going to quote Article 24(1) of your Constitution, which talks about the people taking necessary action that is essential for the protection of their interests. And the word interest is plural. And of course, electricity is just one factor in this matter. Mr. Johnson, thank you very much. and we will hope to speak to you again very soon.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Okay, all the
Okay,
best.
good
We're
day.
going to go to break now. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Burns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express yourself. To him, and this is a great day to talk and to express yourself in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We are one of the freest nations on the planet. We may be small in number, but we have a great contribution to make. We were just talking from Mr. Richard Johnson from Grand Bahama. He gave us some information, very, very important information, of what's happening on the ground in Grand Bahama. And he has a hardworking team that's working down there to get things done. And it's very, very challenging and very, very difficult. It requires the groundswell. Grand Bahamians, please listen. We need a groundswell. We need 20,000 plus or more to be able to make some things happen in Grand Bahama. Now, people will have their different views, different opinions. This thing, electricity, affects the whole island. Fellas say they want 6.3% rate increase. We have we have Grand Bahamians go together. And some of you are hating very, very heavily, perhaps more so down there than up here in New Providence. We have our challenges here too now, but we got to get them fixed. But sometimes the problem has been Bahamians just sit for too long. And perhaps some are a little afraid, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Article 24.1 gives you the authority to organize yourselves. So we have a very strong constitution. You stand on that constitution, you will always be right. But now if you go off on a tangent and you listen to this one and that one, people writing on these scraps of paper, all kind of nonsense and foolishness to confuse your mind. We have another one from Grand Bahama, Mr. Eddie Victor. Pastor Eddie Victor, welcome to the Global Radio Network 99.5. Express yourself on the Global Radio Network. Pastor, you there? Oh, Pastor, you got to answer. Oh, go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, okay. We were
All
talking.
right.
Johnson.
I'm not too sure what happened, but good afternoon to each and every one of you.
Yes, but we do appreciate you coming on because we're trying to get an understanding what's happening in Grand Bahama. We were talking to Brother Johnson, Richard Johnson. He gave us some information, some very important information, and he spoke specifically about this lack of groundswell in Grand Bahama. He has a hardworking team, but it seems sometimes as if people are a little hesitant, and I think they need to be encouraged because with those electricity rates, it affects every single person on the island, and affects us up here too. We're on New Providence. So we have to pull together, work together to make it happen. Go ahead, brother pastor.
Yes, you see, what's being experienced, especially with other groups which join in this fight. And what we got to remember is that the fight is between the people of the Bahamas and a foreign company
Okay.
that wants to levy excessive prices of electricity on a population.
Yes.
And so when more people get into the fight, that is absolutely fantastic.
Amen.
And we have been at it from 2012.
Mhm.
And there is nothing new being experienced now than when we began earlier.
Yes.
You find that with our people, if you're doing something, say for the first time, you get an excitement, you get a lot of people, and then by the time you get to the second time that you have to gather people together, it can be disappointing.
Yes.
The key is you have to look at the goal.
Yes, sir.
In order for us to, and the objective, in order for us to have been at it since 2012, we had to be consistent, committed, and we were diligent in what we were doing.
Okay.
And so that's why you can go and you can see the numerous articles and press conferences and news reports over the years. The town meetings, the first protests we did rallies, marches, petitions, letters from constituents to their members of parliament.
Yes.
We have done, I think, pretty much everything you can do on the ground, especially we did a lot of press conferences and giving the people facts. But what we are dealing with is a system that is not designed to look out for the best interests of the people.
Mhm.
And so what you see right now that's happening is a lot of posturing politically. I realize that now this situation with the power company has even gotten political.
Okay.
And when I say that, you must, I'm sure you've been following. The FNM did a protest.
Yes, I heard about that.
I'm like, okay, let me say this to you,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I have the others. Listen. I respect every party. Um, in I am in the constituency of Pine Ridge.
Yes.
Whoever is my MP for the 5-year period, that's my MP. Then our church is in East Grand Bahama. Whoever is the MP, that is the MP for our church.
Yes.
We make no distinction politically. But now the FNM did a protest, and I was like, wow, it's fine, this is good. But let me say this: um, the FNM government, the prior government administration, had the opportunity to make significant changes as it relates to this power company.
Yes.
And in particularly, we mentioned this on the last time I was with you, was the West End and East End agreement.
Yes.
That agreement gives the power company the right to distribute electricity outside of Freeport. That agreement in 2017, it was to expire in 2018. You see, and our coalition has done a lot of research. We've been at a lot of different angles with the power company. We've been at the angle where when they were forcing the minority Bahamian shareholders out, we fought it. And we fought the renewal of this West End and East End agreement. We fought that because we knew when it was going to expire.
Yes.
2018. 25 years later, it's expiring. We said to Prime Minister Minnis, 30 days after he was elected and became Prime Minister, we said to him, do not renew this agreement, intervene into the power sector, the power sector here in Grand Bahama, and allow another power company to provide electricity to West and East Grand Bahama. And let me remind you, I mentioned that this company, Northern Bahamas Utility, was a 100% Bahamian-owned company with qualified engineers that used to work for the Grand Bahama Power Company. They served in position as directors, managers. These were senior management people. So you couldn't ask for more experience with a group of Bahamians. And on top of that, they had their funding in place before they made their application to the government. And so this company, Bahamian company, was never permitted to make a full presentation to the cabinet of the Bahamas, even though the request was made and there was a response from the prime minister's consultant stating that we would have a meeting. It never happened. All right. And that's since 2018. So there's something more wrong here than just a company trying to apply for rates and a regulator that doesn't understand, proposed regulator that doesn't understand that the ERCA is the regulator for the Bahamas. We see that the system is the problem.
Okay.
And the system is what needs to change. Now, I'm going to say something to you that there is this train of thought that you believe, you've already seen the difficulty in getting people mobilized. All right. And there's a lot of factors to that. People are so consumed and they're challenged with just living life, just having a good life. And sometimes people figure, if I go out on the streets and protest, it's a waste of time. There's a lot of psychological factors that affects what people do. But I'm going to say this: if you always wait for a crowd to get something done, you will always be waiting. You have to be willing to develop a strategy
Yes.
and find committed people. And with those group of committed people, you seek to get the strategy implemented. And I have no better example than from the Word of God. When God was speaking to Gideon, and Gideon, in Gideon's mind, he's thinking that he has to have a great number of people in order to fight the battle, to fight against their enemies, right? And God kept dwindling his army until it got to 300 people.
That's correct.
And with 300 people, they defeated the enemy. So
Okay.
numbers is not the factor. It's really developing a strategy and being committed to the strategy and being consistent where you're going to bring change. And you have to be committed to the long haul. What I do, what my wife does, who's my partner in life, and everything I do, the other persons that have been with us over the years, Rudy Stubbs, Kirk Russell, Pastor Terrence Jones, Deron Brooks, and my respects to Roger Johnson, who is now deceased, and Dr. Carlton Bosfield, who is also now deceased.
Yes.
These were individuals that we were able to work together,
Okay.
and we're not getting paid nothing.
Right.
We're doing it on our own money, our own funds, because we are committed to bringing change to this sector to help our people and to help the businesses and the hotels on the island. There's an economic struggle on this island,
Yes.
and what's being proposed doesn't make any sense, because you have a struggling economy, people that are struggling, businesses that are struggling, and to try to bring an increase at this time does not make no sense.
I agree.
Well, we agree on this side based on all the reports that we've been getting.
Yes.
And the professor has been very persistent with seeking out more individuals from families in Grand Bahama on the ground, as well as businesses to speak out, because nothing will change if you don't speak out. And not because, Pastor Victor, you have been speaking out, and perhaps a lot of the activity has fallen on deaf ears. That doesn't mean that I was able to look at the record. The last time we spoke to you, I was able to pull up the record right here. And before we actually came on to the last show, the last time we spoke to you, I spent a few days taking a look at the record, and I was able to see the work that you all have been doing. And, we learned something about the attitude of the leadership, not one particular administration,
Right.
both administrations, because you said something very serious. You didn't make the direct, how should I put it, the protests that are happening right now. You basically said that those who are protesting, they're in a position to do more in the past.
Yes.
And
That's correct.
and I'm wondering, when you said that, I was wondering what percentage of the Grand Bahamian public understands that these conditions are worsening.
They
But
are.
they were really bad at the time that y'all were protesting in the past.
That's
So
correct.
2017, I mean, the numbers of people that were departing Grand Bahama was at a record pace.
Yes.
Yes.
So here it is now. We're talking about a governmental leadership. We're talking about a Port Authority leadership that are getting reports that people are leaving Grand Bahama in droves. You know, they know how many accounts are disconnected in Grand Bahama. They know how many homes are without electricity. They have those
Right.
numbers. They know the severity of the situation. Yet we have leaders in place that are not ameliorating or mitigating, however you want to say it in the pretty language, not helping the people,
Yes.
not lessening the burden on the backs of the families and the businesses. Pastor Victor, we are wondering what the likelihood looks like because we are supporting from this end, and
Yeah.
when we say we are coming, the professor, myself, we're coming to Grand Bahama, and
Awesome. Awesome.
at the same time, we thought we'd let you know now because I think it's been accelerated. I think it's been accelerated. We were coming a little later, but now that we're getting reports that some decision is going to be made December the 1st,
Yes.
I don't know if the Bahamian public understands how critical this is. I don't know if Grand Bahama realizes how critical this is. You have something coming up in the near future. Could you tell us about that? Let me just say this:
Yeah.
whatever you're doing next, we are compelling Grand Bahamians to support what you are doing.
Yes.
So, what are you doing next?
Well. Firstly, we will be doing a press conference next week to directly address various important truths concerning the situation we are presently in. Now, let me say this, and I'll say it here. You have heard about the problem we've been having with blackouts.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, we have.
Listen, I'm gonna. I'll say it now. The, we have never had the level of blackouts and service interruptions that we have been experienced over the past couple of months. We've never
Wow.
had that level ever before in the history
Wow.
of power generation in Grand Bahama.
Now that's very
That's
serious.
profound. Yeah.
Now,
Very
now,
serious.
now, here's a statement of fact. Years ago, the power company was generating more electricity years ago and did not have this type of service interruption. Today, they're generating less electricity and they were having catastrophic problems. And they were having catastrophic problems with 2 solar farms connected to the grid. And so with 2 solar farms connected to the grid, you were having catastrophic problems, which leads us to something that we have spoken about from years ago, that the model that is being used to run this power company, the business model is the wrong one for this island,
Okay.
because the decisions that were made over the years, management decisions, led to the catastrophic problems that the power company was having. You got to understand that a power company, when summertime is coming, when you're going to have the summer months, they should have made preparations for higher volumes of generation of electricity to ensure that they deliver customer service.
Yes.
So what you saw with the power generation failure is a direct result of poor management decisions.
Okay.
And this has never happened before. And it's happening at a time when you are saying to the public, we need to increase our rates, our base rates, and so that we can deliver this service and that service. And I want you to look at this. They're telling you that they're going to make investments and you're going to pay for the investments. But yet we don't own the assets.
No, we don't.
Makes no sense.
Not sense at all.
So we should have had here more of a municipal / partnership business model used here. where every decision is based on the consumer, the customer, both residential and commercial. And when you make decisions based on that, you can ensure you're going to deliver better service.
Yes.
But when you're making your decision based on profits, when you're making your decision based on a foreign company with owning a vital utility in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, when the parent company in its own home country
Yes.
is being fined for poor delivery of powers of power delivery in their own country, they're being fined. When the CEO of the company, they're reporting the millions of dollars that their CEOs and high-ranking officers are being paid bonuses.
Yes.
You got to realize that this same power company is contributing to the overall corporate profits of Emera.
Yes.
So this is why we've said this before, and we'll say it again. Grand Bahama needs a new power company on the island. And if Emera cannot deliver the service that the customers demand, they need to pack up and leave our country. I can assure you that there are power companies out there that are willing to come into Grand Bahama and work in partnership with the government and the people of this island. But it may require that we got to force this company to go. But I'm going to say this, that I believe that everybody needs to be prepared to fight this company in every way possible if a decision is made to increase the rates.
Well, Pastor Victor, I believe we are in agreement. This is Hyla. Let me just say I am in agreement. I'll add 2 points now. 1 point is, because the way you put it, if Emera cannot deliver, they have not been delivering for years.
That's right.
I just wanted to, to clarify that.
That's correct.
But I can appreciate the way you put it. If they cannot deliver, then they must go. And so I'm agreeing with that, Pastor Victor. If they say 6.3% increase, Pastor Victor, Dwayne Isle is saying if they come back with a 6.3% decrease, they still need to go.
Listen, I endorse that comment 150%.
They gotta go.
They need to go.
They need to go.
Here's the second point, Pastor Victor. I don't know if the Grand Bahamian public has taken it serious from this angle. Mm-hmm. Reliable electricity is a requirement for hotel and airport developments.
Exactly.
It's a prerequisite. So we don't know who is not coming based on the inefficiency of the electricity company.
Yes.
We're talking about infrastructure. So I say it again. The departure of Emera is mandatory for the influx and inflowing of the investments that God have waiting to bless this country with and to bless Grand Bahama with.
I absolutely agree. 100%.
They have to go, and the investments will come.
They have to go, and they don't want to go because they see now these big investments coming.
Yes.
And this is why when we were protesting the renewal of the agreement for West and East Grand Bahama, the F&M administration under Prime Minister Minnis went ahead and they did not have I believe it would have been done by some letter or something, but they went ahead and renewed the agreement. I found that out after the government changed, when we again approached this government and we said to this government, listen, um, was that we asked the question, was that agreement renewed? Now it wasn't I believe it would have been done by consent or a letter or something, but it wasn't done. There wasn't like another agreement written out per se, from what I understand. I could be wrong. I stand to be corrected and make any apologies if I'm not correct, but I believe it would have been done by some type of letter saying that, because the power company had the first right of refusal. I believe that's how it's termed legally. They had the right to renew or to say we're not going to renew, but they didn't want they wanted that agreement to continue, because what they are enjoying is a monopoly that guarantees them their profits.
But that don't
So
sound constitutional,
No,
Professor.
it isn't. I agree with that.
No
I totally agree with
competition.
that.
No
no,
competition.
no competition.
So why do we have an organization called the Utilities Regulation and Competition
Competition
Authority?
Ain't no competition to begin with.
So you might still close down ERCA then.
That's
Well,
another
well, well
thing.
I think here's probably a greater indictment on both, and this would be both on the power company
Pastor,
and
I have to let you hold on. Just hold on.
okay.
We have to go to a break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We're having an interesting discussion. Callers, you can call in to the show 3260271, 3260272, 8130271. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We'll be right back after the break.
Excuse me.
Today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
We're having an interesting discussion about what's happening in Grand Bahama. In fact, for the rest of this week, all the way through starting today, tomorrow, and also Friday, we will be discussing about Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama is a national treasure for the Bahamian people, and Grand Bahama also has it's a very serious issue that's happening down there. Grand Bahamians, we need a massive groundswell. And I'm going to work very hard to make sure that that happens. We cannot continue going the way we're going. See, the team is working very hard. We heard those reports from the leaders of the teams. The team is on the ground working. They need your support, Bahamians. This is very, very important. Okay, Brother Hyler, go ahead to the comments.
Yes, we're coming to you, Pastor Victor, but we have some Facebook comments here. And the first one is echoing what Professor Thompson is saying. Johnson is on Facebook saying we need a groundswell throughout the whole Bahamas.
Yes.
Kerry is saying, say what exactly is Fred, meaning Fred Mitchell, and the other PLPs doing out there in Grand Bahama? Say they are part of the problem.
Yes.
One person, Bartlett, is saying they keep waiting for the PM to come. Say you're going to wait till you're black and blue. This person is someone who apparently was on the ground in Grand Bahama.
Yes.
They says the Grand Bahama people won't change. Say I've been there doing it, raising awareness, and they wanted menace back then.
Yes.
And now they want brave.
Okay.
So they must suffer some more before they come together on issues.
That's an interesting comment.
Yes,
I'll talk
yeah.
about that
Yes,
after Pastor Victor.
See, there are two governments in Grand Bahama. The FNM and PLP, that's one government. And then the Port Authority.
It's two. That's two right
This
there.
person is saying there is two governments.
Okay. All right.
Okay, another comment here. If we come together and demand things from our government, both the PLP and the FNM, say the port will be a joke. One last comment. The reality in Grand Bahama, the hospital was announced to be built several times.
Oh, okay.
Then the Port Lucaya Hotel was announced to be sold several times and nothing. And after the by-election, no ambulance, school not opened in homes, road,
Yes.
holes in the road never fixed. So issues continue that have not been addressed.
Okay, let's bring Pastor back in. Pastor, you there?
I'm right here. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
go ahead. This is our last break, so we're going to let you go first, and then we're going to wrap up at the end.
Okay. Well, let me continue where I left off.
Where you left off, yes.
What I
Okay.
was referring to is that we have a situation where the Hawksbill Creek Agreement is being used against the people of Grand Bahama, and I dare say for the entire Bahamas.
Okay, all right.
Because we have Grand Bahamians on the island, but we are all Bahamians.
That's right.
And so the Hawksbill Creek Agreement is being used against the people of the Bahamas.
That's very interesting.
And they have figured this out. The power company, sadly, the Port Authority, they realize that it gives them certain powers within the territory of the city of Freeport.
Yes.
And so they're emboldened, I would say, by this agreement, which is being used against the government. Now, I got to say this, because if you want to talk about what the government actually did, it's important to know what they have done to try to deal with this situation.
Okay.
Under the last Christie administration, the PLP government had passed a law called the Electricity Act 2015. And that act is what empowered ERCA to regulate electricity throughout the Bahamas. All right. And then there was the subsequent, I believe, an amendment to the act, which took place this year, which
Yes.
further defined clearly
Hmm.
ERCA's role.
Okay.
So, watch this. You have an agreement, Hawksbill Creek Agreement, I'm referring to specifically, that only came into existence because the government, which is the people, entered into that agreement. The people of the Bahamas entered into an agreement with the Grand Bahama Port Authority. You have all the rights to operate and develop businesses within a Pacific territory known as the City of Freeport, which is supposed to be a commercial duty-free zone. You have gotten all of that because of the people of the Bahamas, the government. And the government of the Bahamas has passed laws empowering ERCA to be the regulator. And you are challenging ERCA's right to regulate you? It makes no logical sense. And this is why the people are going to have to stand firm when it comes to any decision being made about this rate application. But we now have to go further than that. We need this company to go.
Yes.
Hmm.
They need to go. We need another company. And one of the things that we learned as I learned this in being an activist and in studying how people have been activists in other countries in the world and even historically. I realized that if you're gonna be an activist, you must have a solution. You
Amen.
must be able to offer a solution, and that's what we did in 2017. We offered a solution to the government, the then government under Prime Minister Minnis, and nothing was done. And so, like I go back to what I said earlier, we're dealing with a system that isn't designed to really empower the people.
Yes.
For you to better understand what's happening in Grand Bahama. And I think I may have mentioned this, but I'll repeat it again. Grand Bahama is the only city in the Bahamas that is properly zoned. They have a commercial, you have a business sector, you have a residential sector, you have what's called tourist commercial sector, you have a light industry sector, you have a zone, you have a heavy industrial zone. It's a property zone city. That you even in the residential zone, you have multifamily lots, and then you have single family lots, property zoned. You go into every one of these zones, you will find abandoned buildings or vacated buildings. They're all over. We have condominiums that have been vacated.
Wow.
Did you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's serious.
Wow, that's very serious.
I've heard of one. Yes.
Yeah, in the heart of the city, we have what was the Casa Bahamas, a
I remember
multi-story,
that. I remember very-
tall structure,
Wow.
abandoned,
Yeah,
Wow.
abandoned. The whole thing.
right?
Wow.
Abandoned. We have hotels that are abandoned. The Royal Oasis, and then the Royal Oasis Country Club, the Royal Oasis Towers, and the Royal and the casino. abandoned.
Mhm.
All right. But in every residential area, there are vacant and abandoned homes. And I point that out because you mentioned earlier about the obvious depopulation
Yes, he
Mhm.
did.
of the island.
Yes,
Yes.
he certainly did.
People leaving to find better opportunities elsewhere. So our depopulation, we've had people leave this island to go to Abaco, to Nassau. A lot of people went to Nassau, Bimini, Exuma, other out islands. And then there's been a migration into Canada and even the United States. So we have seen the clear signs of depopulation.
Yes.
If you are running a city as a municipality, these would be alarm bells going off everywhere. You would say, listen, we got to stop this. We need to bring about some type of renewal into these communities.
Right.
We need to intervene in this area. This is what should have happened, but it didn't happen. And one of the reasons it didn't happen, because there was a concentration of generating profits more than helping to revive a
Mhm.
struggling municipality.
Okay.
Understood.
And this is why I said the system is the problem, and the system has to change. Now, Professor Thompson, and 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 Brother Hyla, listen. Now, if I sense your hearts, and I hope you can sense my heart.
Yes, sir.
If I was put in a position where I can make decisions in a government arena, I would take some bold steps.
Yes, sir. Agree.
Definitely.
All right.
Amen.
And that's what we need. We need some people to take some bold steps. Why be elected? Why be in a government position if you're not willing to take bold steps?
Good question. Excellent question.
But what we have is a system where even people who are in position, they're like dancing around things because their party has this philosophy.
Yes.
And their party has this philosophy. And if you go against the philosophy, you become a target for expulsion.
Yes.
Okay.
That's very powerful what you said.
Yes, he did. Very powerful.
Very much so.
And that, Pastor, that is something that the Bahamian people have to address very seriously. And I'm going to be speaking to that very powerfully, because there's a difference between a political party. One, you want to stay in your political party, do that. When it comes to the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, that is a whole horse of a different color.
Yep.
When it comes to electing personalities and appointed personalities to run your national affairs, your constituency affairs, that's a whole horse of a different color. If people are so mired to what a political party says, fine. You don't have to become the government of the Bahamas. And this is where the Bahamian people have not been making that distinction. When you
Yep.
go to the polls, you go there to elect a representative. Even the political
Exactly.
party itself has to put up a candidate and say, vote for that particular candidate.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
these are the things that people need to understand. And of course, Mr. Johnson mentioned the fact that we need this massive groundswell. The people in Grand Bahama are still sleeping. They are not responding as they ought to. And we're having that same problem over here.
Yeah.
On New Providence. People are just sitting, waiting for a few people to do some things. We need their support. It can only happen if we get their support. I throw out a challenge to them and I tell them, give me my 18 months. And I'm dead serious about that. I'm not going to let them get away with it. I'm going to challenge them to prove whether you are serious or not. It is constitutionally sound. It is legally sound. It is biblically sound. What are you waiting for? Let's get to work. It's a
Yes.
challenge. And people need to understand that. So we can't have people who are been elected to perform on behalf of the Bahamian people on all day dancing around these issues. Go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, I think you, Professor, you've hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
Representatives. We have not had good representatives because what you would find is that most of the people that have been elected, especially the new ones,
Yes.
they have not been involved in the community prior to being elected.
That's
Pastor,
very serious.
Pastor,
They have not been. They have not been. So all of a sudden I decide,
That's
oh,
a red flag.
I'm gonna go into a career of politics.
Yeah.
So as soon as I start my campaign, that's when I become community involved.
Wow.
Wow.
That should never be.
That should never be.
Wow.
I agree with you.
Wow.
You should have someone that has been in the community.
Mm-mm.
No one paying them for anything.
Nothing.
They've been funding whatever they've been doing in the community on their own.
That's right.
And so if I elect you, I only electing you to do what you're already doing.
Exactly.
That's
But
powerful.
Very powerful.
all of a sudden I run for office and I'm making all kind of promises. But
Yes.
listen, what were you doing before?
Good
And,
question.
and,
That's
and,
good
and
question.
that is the problem because we need representatives who can truly say, I stand on behalf of Marco City, and I am delivering.
Yeah.
Because but when you're gonna stand and say I stand on behalf, how you could say you stand on behalf and you have not been really involved in the community prior to being elected? And
My.
Wow.
and then once I'm elected, I am not regularly consulting with the people that put me there.
Wow.
I'm not having regular town meetings or whatever to say I want to hear what the constituency thinks.
Yes.
That's not happening.
Wow.
Pastor, I could not agree with you more. That is what I've been trying to get the Bahamian people to understand over these airwaves. Because we need serious representation in
Yes.
Parliament. Very serious
Yes.
representation. We don't have that.
Grand Bahama needs it more than any other constituency or
Yes.
territory
Very much.
Yes.
so.
in the Bahamas. It's
Very much
really, it's a matter of survival now.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
It's a matter of survival of businesses. It's a matter of more people not being discouraged, and,
Yes.
and departing. We're hearing union leaders, in New Providence, speaking of how the morale is low, even in the uniform branches,
That is correct.
customs and immigration.
That is
The
correct.
morale is very low. Persons becoming discouraged because of what they're experiencing.
Now we're going to let Pastor give his few last words before we close out. Because we
Well-
had a music in the background. Go ahead, Pastor.
Okay, and this is what I'll say. We cannot allow this power company in Grand Bahama to continue the way it has been going.
Yes.
We cannot allow regulation taking place without it being done by the appointed government regulator.
Okay.
You have to draw the line in the sand now and be prepared to do whatever it takes to bring the change that we need now. Not in the future, not promises, but we need to make sure that we bring change now so that
Yes.
we can secure the future of our children and our children's children.
Pastor, you've done well today. I really appreciate it. We got to call you back again.
Amen.
Whenever I'm available, I'm
Well,
available.
we'll be in touch with you.
Okay,
Thank,
yes.
thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Brother Carr.
Hi, look. Well,
Hyla, yeah,
listen.
go ahead.
All I could say is that I endorse all that was said today.
Oh, I do.
Stay tuned. Tell more listeners to listen in. Grand Bahama, we are speaking up with a loud voice. And just speak up. Come out
Please do.
and make your presence felt. Do not sit back in silence.
Right. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We thank you very much for listening and participating. And we'll be back again tomorrow from 2 to 4. Thank you very much and have a pleasant afternoon.